Ashe family, welcome back to another episode of My Unapologetic Perspective. This is the podcast we give our point of view on controversial topics from my experience, Black history, and our knowledge as African Americans. Black history presently lives in us so we can continue to excel into the future. It's one thing to know Black history. It's another thing to take advantage of what the people in Black history did for you. I am your host, Martre Baker Stevens, and to the right of me is my brother, Shaquan Battle.
Yeah.
And to the right of him is our father, Jerome Battle.
What's up?
Appreciate all the love and support we've been getting. We finally hit 10,000 followers on TikTok. Appreciate y'all. Congratulations to my brother who got named the B-Team boys basketball coach. I wish I had a round of applause on head to hit, but how you feel? How you feel about it?
I feel good. More importantly, it was something that I wanted to do, but more importantly, it's something that the kids wanted. So it's just the way the kids gravitate to me, the way that I gravitate to them. I think it's gonna be a special season. So if you're watching this tomorrow on the 1st. Our first game is tomorrow, so make sure y'all come pack that gym. It's going to be a great season. It's going to be a great season.
Basketball to a side, I know when you had asked us to, do the letter of recommendation, all that other good stuff that we put online, one of the biggest things that I put was, it's not just about basketball. What he does is something that you got from our father, things that you got from Gerald Larry, things you got from, people, Marvin McGinnis, the Black people in our community who took us in and used basketball as a tool. So when you get those principles within basketball, that is the most important thing. Even with some players that some of your people there were concerned about making a team and the things of that nature, I think one thing they didn't understand is who was going to be coaching, and the principles they're going to put in them is going to make them better, not just on the basketball court. It's going to make them better in the classroom. It's going to make them better at home. And those are the principles that are used in sports that are great when it comes to putting that into the universe. I say that all the time, even at work. Like, I'm so glad that I was in the sports as a kid, because some of the things that I see people who are not in the sports, they're not driven, they're not motivated. They don't come in with the mindset that I want to get to this level. They don't have that type of mindset. They just come in and, I'm here,
right.
Just another day at work. Like you don't have a mindset to, okay, I made a mistake. Now, how do I bounce back from that mistake?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's those principles, that teamwork. People don't understand teamwork. That, yes, even though we're a group of individuals working, but we're all working to one common goal. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter who get the credit.
Right.
It don't matter who get employee of the month. It's the fact that we're all working on one accord to try to get this job done. Those things that you can take from the basketball court over into your adult life moving forward.
Yeah, my take was the same. When I filled out the document to send in, the main thing I was stressing is that it's not just about coaching when it comes to you. You're mentoring young men.
Yeah.
And the mentorship is far more greater of importance than coaching.
Right.
Coaching is just part of mentoring, in my opinion. So that plus, like Bake just said, sports, especially team sport, when you show up, you're not just showing up for you. You're showing up for your teammates. And a lot of people, when they come to work, they don't realize the impact of them being reliable and dependable and showing up when they're supposed to, how impactful that is on for the whole environment, not just the people that they work with,
right,
but also their families.
Right.
So, having that taught to kids when they're young, time management. Being in leadership at work, that a lot of people have poor time management when it comes to work. They may have great time management on planning for the football game to come on 1 o'clock, but they don't necessarily have great time management when it comes to work related things. So when you coach, when you play a team sport, you have to take in consideration those things: time management, reliability, dependability, and then mentoring young men. So, hey, we're proud of you, man. We're gonna be there supporting you, as well as the team. And hey, whatever you need from us, you got it.
I appreciate it. I already know that. I think one of the biggest things It really didn't hit me until my son came and asked me. He had asked me something about practice, and I was like, who wanted to know? And he was like, we started a group chat after we made the team, and I was like, see, that's the leadership that I'm talking about. Is for him, especially for him, is making a group chat and putting everybody on the team in it. So y'all already started the team building, all outside of the court and outside of me. So I think now we just get that to translate to in the classroom, on the court, and in the community, because that's another one of my big goals is to bridge middle school and rec league, build that bridge. To have the kids at the games on Saturdays, because I know what that means when people on a team or on the middle school team come to watch you play. It gives you a sense of pride. And I just feel like it's a disconnect between the high school, middle school, and rec league right now. So I'm trying to restore all of that.
Good.
Absolutely. What we going to? What do y'all want to talk about?
You follow your lead, man.
Follow my lead.
Follow your lead.
All right.
What you got?
The first history of black firefighters is out of that they have documented is out of New Orleans in 1817 after a devastating fire that happened in the city. And after that devastating fire, they pretty much asked for any volunteers that could be able to help even enslaved people, enslaved black Americans, and free black Americans helped in being firefighters. In 1821, they just asked for volunteers and permission of men of color to be in organized fire companies. And it wasn't until about 1833 where they have documentation of evidence of black firefighters actually being in New Orleans, because there was 4 different companies. And 2 of the companies basically had a demonstration. They were white companies. They had a demonstration to protest or have some pushback against new equipment going to 2 other companies. And the documentation why we believe that there were black companies is because it said that it shouldn't go to the squads of the Negroes with a colored man named Johnson at the head.
That's right.
And they ended up winning, in which that equipment ended up going to the white companies. But that's like one of the earliest forms of firefighting that we see comes out of New Orleans. The first woman firefighter was a black American who was enslaved by the name of Molly Williams. She worked alongside the men in New York City, particularly in Manhattan, in about 1818. She was enslaved again, but her master was a volunteer firefighter in Manhattan, one of the Manhattan companies. So he would take her to the workplace in which she would do the cooking and the cleaning for the crew, and she also would clean the heavy water pump for the crew. So she was around so much that she began to learn the machines and how to operate as a firefighter. And one day they was at the firehouse and she was taking care of the firefighters who were down with the flu. So, but the alarm went off that a fire was going on. So she hauled off the pumper with as much strength and speed as she can. And she took care of the call pretty much by herself. And then after that, they pretty much recognized her as a volunteer number 11. Of course, not giving her a name or official title, but she was one of the she was one of the first unofficial members of a firefighting team. The fireman pole. In 1878, the company 21 Fire Station was established as the first black fire company out of Chicago. The fire department under the command of a white captain named David Kenyon, which happened most of the time. Even if you had an all-black company, whether in the military, whether in policing, whether in firefighting, they was always answering to somebody white. Kenyon, who was credited with the invention of the fire pole, got the idea from watching one of the black firefighters get up and slide down the pole from the 3rd floor to the 1st floor using a pole that had been temporarily lashed in place for the company. And he noticed how fast he was from going from the 3rd floor to the 1st floor. So he basically invented the fireman pole to where all of his people had to learn how to slide down. Right. And what they started noticing was that particular company was getting to all the calls first because of their speed and going down from the third floor to the first floor to where pretty much now all fire companies pretty much have that routine to where they have the fire pole and everybody slides down. But that is credited after watching a black firefighter by the name of George Reed slide down. I'm going to use Richmond, Virginia history just because it's Virginia. 1950, the department hired its first 10 Negro firefighters to form the first black unit in the city. The plan called for to work under, again, white officers that would qualify for promotion. One of the people actually hired was Harvey Hicks, was one of the later on he became the city's first black fire captain in 1961. He ended up dying in 1963 after going into a call and trying to rescue some people. He ended up dying. And then a year later, the Richmond integrated its fire department. So based off of Harvey Hicks, who was one of the first 10 to be a firefighter in Richmond, to becoming the first one of the first black fire captains, risked his life, and then his story alone helped integrate the fire department in Roanoke. But back then,
In Richmond.
In Richmond, I'm sorry. But before then, black firefighters had to do more. Again, had to do twice as more, had to be twice as good. White firefighters after being hired, went straight to the station and where they got assignments and was being trained. Black firefighters for 2 months had to go into a training program. Black firefighters had to wash, clean the houses. They had to wash the equipment, their own equipment. They had to wash the equipment of the white firefighters. Their protocol was they had to wash their equipment after each call. So if they got 6 calls in a day, they had to wash their thing 6 times. The white firefighters just had to wash at the end of the day. Most of the time, the black firefighters had to do it for them. They also got the grunt work. They had to go, put out the dumpster fires. They had to, go pick up the supplies for other units. Even when they went to the firehouse or the white units, they had to go to the back door, knock at the door, take their laundry and all that stuff to get it clean. They had to do all that stuff. They had to go for the city and cut grass. They had to do all of the grunt work. So, again, a lot of times when black people moved into these fields, they were treated like second-class citizens. Mm-hmm. But even being treated like second-class citizens, especially during the Jim Crow, they might have been segregated, but the black people might have had more education. They might have been twice as good. Of course, we know they had more training because, like I just said, they had to go 2 months for training.
That's right.
Before they ever stepped foot in the firehouse. They had to do all of these things, but it was always something discriminatory within that. And then when it came for promotion opportunities, they were least likely to be promoted. Some places just remain vacant just because they didn't want to promote a black person within these fire departments even after integration. So it was a lot. I know what we give policing a hard time with the community because of the black community and police history. But even with the fire department, there's still a lot of racist undertones. There's still a lot of things that happen within the system that are systematic that hurts a lot of people who put their life on the line every single day. And I'll go into that a little bit later. But, even after World War II, they come back. Of course, I've been there shooting a gun. They put a gun in my hands. So I'm going to come back, go into law enforcement, do something to where I know what I'm doing. Right. Or I'm going into where I rescue people, pull people, Medicaid, evac, all of those type of stuff that you do in the military. Then when they came home, a lot of the people want to go and work, at the fire department. But again, it was a lot of those racial undertones, which caused, foundational black Americans in the 1940s to start the Vulcan Society, which was a fraternity of black firefighters who fought discrimination, inequality in hiring and promotions within the fire departments. Mm-hmm. Even in 2014, the city agreed to pay $98 million back in New York for discriminatory type of things going on in the fire department. In 2011, a lawsuit was filed based upon the lack of hiring black firefighters. But there's so many stories that happen within racism in the fire department, but I'm gonna go to one locally. I sent the message to both of y'all. I don't know if y'all watched the video or are familiar with the story.
I knew we were gonna get to it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go all the way in depth on the story. I'm a hit and touch on some points to get my point across. If you wanna find it, I'm gonna put the link in the description and go watch the entire video on the breakdown of the lawsuits. But in Lynchburg, Virginia, which is local to us, is about 20 minutes away from us, Virginia white firefighter Captain Hargis was superior to a black firefighter by the name of Brian Younger. And Younger filed a lawsuit because one of his colleagues showed him a video of his captain saying the N-word, basically in an argument with his wife. And he's saying, what N-word are you talking to? What N-word are you talking to? Repeatedly on video, and then calls her an N-word lover. Now, for us growing up in Bedford, that's normal.
Right.
That's normal of a white man talking to a white woman, calling her a nigger lover.
Right.
That's normal because of interracial dating and white people having a problem with black men dating white women. That's normal around here. Again, it might be normal for us, even though it's not okay. It's normal for us in the South of seeing stuff like that.
That's right.
So he gave this information to his superiors, and nothing was done about it. And when his superiors called him up there about this situation, one of the things that they asked was, would you accept an apology from the person in this video, one of his colleagues in this video? And then he also asked him was, do you plan on harming Mr. Hargis for his comments in the video? And then, they swept it under the rug, and it led to Mr. Hargis showing up at his house at 6:00 in the morning with a case of beer, trying to, think that's his way of apologizing, but then also asking, are you recording me? So that, pissed Mr. Younger off a little bit more. But not too long after that, they swept that under the rug. Nothing happened. Hargis is promoted, all of those things. But he gets a video from another family member of somebody's wife sent him another video of one of his colleagues driving, beeping the horn, screaming, "What's up, nigga?" to the passing traffic. He then takes that to his superiors. They don't care about that video. They care about the meme that he posted on his Facebook of the January 6th rioters.
That's right.
And he got more scrutiny for posting that than his colleagues got for saying the N-word. And then there were a lot of other reports about racial hostility and racial environment going on that was reported in this lawsuit. Of course, Mr. Younger did not win this lawsuit.
Of course not.
But just recently, they put the fire chief on administrative leave. The city did, pending investigation. They think that investigation may have something to do with Mr. Younger's lawsuit and finding some more information out there happening there. But just give me y'all thoughts on this entire debacle that happened locally.
Here's my issue from the beginning is he brings it to the superiors, and the first thing they ask him is, would you accept an apology? So now let's downplay my feelings on how this makes me feel. So now we asking you to do the right thing versus the superiors doing the right thing. And that's my issue. He brought it to y'all for y'all to handle, and then y'all asking him, would you accept an apology? Mm-hmm. Why does an apology make that okay?
Yeah. And his two colleagues were never reprimanded, never disciplined. He was put on administrative leave and then officially terminated afterwards.
I have a couple of concerns, but the irony of it, it kind of leads into my segment of the podcast.
Okay.
And my concern is, you can keep your apology. First of all, I don't care about your apology.
Yeah.
And I don't drink beer, so what difference does it make? But my concern is this: if you have racial issues as a first responder, because that's what firefighters are, first responders. As a first responder, how quickly and efficiently are you going to be at responding to as a first responder in a situation where the victim may be black?
Right.
And yeah, you're going into my second part. I'm gonna get mine out too, but I'm gonna let you go first. Go ahead.
And then as a leader, as a person who has the ability to hire, fire, and promote, how is that racial undertone gonna play a part in how you give people promotions or raises or hire and fire people? So those are my two concerns. But it doesn't surprise me, which is my part of the podcast. And I just wanted this. It's not going to take me long, but I gotta stress this, because the reason that it doesn't surprise me is because we've said many times on this podcast that this country was founded on racism. The governing body of the United States was founded on racism and discrimination. And I know we say that a lot, and a lot of people. And there's a lot of evidence. We see evidence every day that this country, that is true. This country was founded on racism and discrimination. But I want to give you a couple. I want to give you one in large capacity, and then I want to take two excerpts and break it down. Right? The Constitution starts with "We the people." The opening statement is supposed to outline the goals and justifications of the Constitution. According to most definitions, this opening is supposed to affirm that the government serves its citizens and that the people are the ultimate source of the government's power. But not at all that. Not only that, it describes the ideal of what government can be and can do. For instance, forming a more perfect union, establishing justice, ensuring domestic tranquility, providing a common defense, promoting general welfare, securing liberty for present and future generations. But not only that, the phrase "we the people" declares the government's power comes from the people who have given their consent to be governed by the Constitution. First, where's that document? Have you guys ever signed that document? You never signed anything giving that consent. Okay. So that's a right that's given to any United States citizen or resident. We got to be clear, because there's a difference between the two. Okay. But that's the governing body. That's the consent that says the Constitution is your governing body, that you agree to that, even if you don't understand it. All right.
Born into that, you don't actually sound.
But not only that, the phrase "we the people" also establishes that the Constitution is for a single unified country, a unified nation, one voice, one sound, one ideal, one principle, one belief. And that's more important than any part of it, is that it's saying it's unified by the states of America. Okay? That's important. And then for some really smart folks who realized, as the ideals and principles and beliefs evolved towards the true meaning of the Constitution rather than what it may have meant to those that were involved in devising it, they had to make amendments. So while the phrase "we the people" was a radical idea at the time, the idea of who is included in that phrase has evolved over time. For example, expansion of voting rights to different groups throughout history. See, in 1776, and this is going to blow you away, but I got to give it to you, because this is Black history. Because Black history is what? American history,
yes.
Right? In 1776, when the authority of King George III was rejected by the conquered land by force, called America, chose democracy over monarchy. And we chose "we the people" over "I the ruler." Do you know who "we the people" included? By and part of the definition of the Constitution, a government for the people, by the people, with representation We the people only included white men who own property. This is not my interpretation. This is documented in history. This is what it meant. For white men who own property, because they were the only people who could vote. Because remember, democracy means representation and voting, because it's for the people, by the people. Okay? So you got to have both parts of those. President John Adams once wrote, "Few men who have no property have any judgment of their own." In 1860, all state legislations had lifted property requirements for voting. All states, remember, we the people also implies uniform. Okay? So all states said, okay, we're going to drop that part from the voting requirements. Amongst other things, this phrase also unifies the nation. So removing the property owner element as a requirement to vote did not align with the democratic notion that all men are created equal. They claimed that was the reason that they were doing it. Now, you have to pay close attention to that requirement. To vote did not align with the democratic notion that all men are created equal. And the reason you got to pay close attention is because all men are created equal. That notion has nothing to do with total equality. It has to do with equality of men. Equality of men defined by the word men at the time. So this did not include blacks or women.
That's not different from what we see today.
Absolutely.
The way that women are being treated.
That's right.
As far as their voices. And, when you just have Elon Musk's dad say that, when white people become the minority, then America's going to, have its problems. You had a white mayor who came out and said that he just want the race to be won by a superior race. They want a lot of things that are happening goes back to that statement that you just said about the Declaration, about the Constitution, is because white culture is being pushed out, which means white men are no longer running certain things, and they don't want those type of things to happen, which goes back to our conversation of the fire department when we talk about the good old boys club. The good old boys club is white culture. Yeah, you can have some black faces who end up being the chief and the captains, whatever, but if they are going along with white culture, then they're fine in their place. But the minute they start pushing back on racism, on sexism and all these other things, then we start having a problem.
That's the problem. Yeah, and so by definition, blacks and women weren't included in the voting process because they weren't included in the We the People.
Yeah,
they weren't included. So not only does this exclude them from the voting process, by very definition of the We the People and everything that comes after, We the People exclude those groups as well. In 1870, Congress passed the 15th Amendment, which gave the constitutional right for black men and other men of other nationalities the right to vote regardless of race. So in 1776, when the Constitution was adopted and the We the People became the preamble of this country's governing body, black men and women were not included. They weren't a part of We Are the People. So in 1870, when black men, in theory, should have been included in We the People, at least as far as the voting aspect, still doesn't include the American native or women. Guess what? It didn't include black men, despite the 15th Amendment. Violence and intimidation in some states still prevented black men from voting. And those states tried everything, including legislative measures to stop black men from voting, such as poll tax, renewed attempts of property requirements, and literacy tests. And when that didn't work, or it didn't work well enough, they used violence and intimidation to prevent black men from voting. It wasn't until 1960, that's 90 years later, Congress passed additional legal measures to protect the voting rights. Notice that. Protect the vote. It already existed.
They had the right.
How many times on this podcast have we said that? It's not like we were fighting for the rights. The rights already existed.
Yeah.
Right.
We just wanted them to enforce it.
Yeah.
That's it. So blacks, not until 1965, when Congress passed the Voting Rights Act, which prohibit any racial discrimination in voting. 100+ years later, you get what the Constitution said you should have already gotten, right? Women didn't get their rights to vote until the 1920s. And they began their fight in the 1840s. And Native Americans did not get their resolve until the 1920s. So by original definition of we the people did not include all people. And here's the thing that I wish people would understand. Let me give you an example. If I say we're all going to King's Dominion except you, Bate, then we all ain't going to King's Dominion, right? So that means once you say except,
it's not
you can forget about everything that came before the word except because it doesn't apply.
As black people would say, who the hell is we?
Exactly. So just real quick, I want to talk about the 13th Amendment because I could go all day long talking about the amendments and how it doesn't add up to what the Constitution originally said and how it didn't include us, which is why you had the amendment. But I won't do that because that's a long podcast. That's like a months-long podcast, right? But the 13th Amendment, Section 1 reads, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to the jurisdiction. So it's saying that the only place, so slavery is abolished. It does not exist.
Unless you're in prison.
Except, so once again,
slavery is not abolished.
Slavery is not abolished, right? That's what you're telling us, right? So for the people that don't interpret it that way, because it's probably you on the other end of the stick, you're probably going to be black. For the people that interpret it that way, they always interpret it that way. That's why you continue to have issues with black people trying to exercise their rights. It's always been interpreted by those that understood it. It was always interpreted correctly. The people that was part of We the People always interpreted that way. So this is not new to them. And then the second part is important too. So Section 2 says, Congress shall have the power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Shall have the power. I mean, it doesn't say they're going to do a goddamn thing. It just says they should have the power to do something. But whether they do it or not, it depends. And that's what we see is the depends part. The depends part is where people have things that impact them, their beliefs, their ideals, their principles. Whatever it is that they believe influence what they do. And that could be decisions. That could be whether somebody's is going to be presented before a jury, a grand jury, for indictment. Let's take the Arbery case. You know, when you had detectives and the lead prosecutor at the time trying to determine if they should bring charges. If they should. So at the beginning, the cop actually told the guys when they arrived, they said, yeah, you're going to be going home today. Don't worry about it. You know, so this is the problem we have when we talk about the case of the firefighter is that at the end of the day, you're not part of the We the People. The same processes that work so well for the people that are part of the people, you're not part of that. Here's the key. What have we always said about the Donald Trump administration? And you can look at Doge. You can look at what they were doing. Everything is about money. Everybody that was part of the Doge were people who were billionaires or millionaires or whatever. They had a bunch of money. You didn't see not one black person on that crew. And it's because they don't believe that black people has anything of value, right? In fact, some people believe that even as slaves, we didn't bring value. They believe that because they made us slaves and taught us how to be good slaves is where the value came from. So you on your own has no value whatsoever. You had the president of the United States at the time say that there's no value in people that don't own property.
It's the white savior mentality.
Yes.
It's because of me that you have this. Like even if I bring you here as a slave, you said that you taught us this. It's me putting something where I'm the savior at the end of the day.
That's right. That's right. And it sounds like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Sounds like that administration. And the scary thing is that a lot of people are loyal to that belief. And because they're loyal to that belief, it's going to be hard to change that. So a lot of people feel like that all of the things regarding civil rights, going all the way back to 1865, the proclamation of the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, and then ending the war in 1865. A lot of people believe that this changed their reality of generational wealth for the South, and they feel like that this separated them from their heritage, and they despise the fact that it was for black people.
Yeah.
Even though it really wasn't. It was actually wanted to use black people to end the war. They really didn't want to give that to. I mean, he said so. Abraham Lincoln said so himself. That certain things had to happen in order to end the war. Didn't care about whether Abraham Lincoln didn't want black people to be free either. He didn't think we had value.
It didn't abolish slavery in the border states, so it wasn't about slavery. If it was about slavery, then slavery would have been abolished.
Absolutely, including the Emancipation Proclamation did not include blacks that were being held in prisons in states that was part of the Union, which means you can still beat the hell out of them. They weren't free. It only applied to the ones that were in prisons in the southern states. So at the end of the day, some of the things that took place are not what people thought it was. And it wasn't because they believed that blacks were equal and that they should have equal rights. It was none of that. Even when you think about the Civil Rights Act itself in 1965 through 1968, that wasn't solely because of Martin Luther King's speeches and the marches. It wasn't solely because of that. It was because he was trying to create some type of government that was not going to have all of this unruly up and down and rioting. He was trying to bring some peace to America.
Yeah, because when you look at what happened in the mid-50s up until 1965, all of that is peaceful.
That's right.
Once you go from 1965 into the 70s, now things are getting a little bit raw. Now you got the Panthers coming around.
That's right.
At first, in the middle, now you got Nation of Islam doing their thing. Like you have all of these different aspects to say, hey, now it's not just saying hold hands and sing songs. Now it's a lot of more radical type of ideas.
That's right.
And people who are going to get their freedom by any means necessary.
That's right.
But even going back into what you were talking about, and this is from, I want to break down something that Dick Gregory always said, which is, there's a difference between being prejudiced and being racist. If somebody don't like me because I'm black, that's prejudice. That's the prejudice. I don't like you because you're black. You cannot like me because I'm short. You cannot like me because my hair is long. You cannot like me for many different reasons. That's you being prejudiced. Let me be the first to say I could give a damn about somebody being prejudiced about me.
Right.
You can go at home, close the doors, tell your wife, tell your kids, anything you want about me. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to sleep well at night. You can put my picture up, throw darts at it. I don't care. Right. The problem is when your prejudice goes into racism.
That's right.
Racism is when you have control, you have a type of power that could affect my everyday life. So going from the firefighter situation, Captain Daniel Hargis may be a prejudice. And he could say, are you a nigger lover? All of those different things. Could care less about that. The problem is you're a supervisor to black people.
That's right.
Which means that your prejudice now has become racist because now you have the power of that person's job.
Right. That's right.
The superiors who are prejudiced, that terms the racism, you have the power to affect my salary. You can terminate me if you wanted to. You can take food out of my children's mouth. When you're prejudiced, whether you're in politics or you try to pass laws that affect the black community, that's when it becomes racism. Racism is not just a person calling me a nigger. I could care less about that. Right? That does not have an effect. That doesn't have an effect on my everyday life. It may affect me emotionally a little bit, but for the most part, my day doesn't change because you call me an N-word.
That's right.
Right? And some people say, well, the Karens, calling the police is because when the police come, we know from a historical standpoint that they're going to side with the white woman calling the police on somebody black.
That's right.
That affects me going to jail. That affects me maybe getting shot. Affect me having criminal charges put on me.
That's right.
When your prejudice now affects my everyday life, it becomes racism.
That's right.
And when you look at systematic racism, when you look at the police departments, the fire departments, when you look at the banks, when you look at the places where white people, white culture have the ability to dictate what happens in black households, black communities based off you making a decision using your prejudice, now we have a racist problem. And that's one of the things that people don't understand. Could care less if somebody's racist.
That's right.
You know, when I was thinking a few weeks ago, there was a woman, don't care about her name, but she's a influencer or whatever the case may be. But she did blackface, and she was on her social media on blackface, and she was impersonating a black woman, and the comments was going crazy, and I was about to comment with so much rage and anger. Then I realized, I stopped.
Yeah.
I realized, yo, why are we so surprised when white people do things, or when white racists do things that we already know that they do?
Right.
That's right.
Like why? I'm no longer getting mad at the fact of people doing things that I expect them to do. If you ask a black person, how many people do you think a lot of white people are racist? They're going to say yes. Do you think a lot of white people say nigga? They're going to say yes. Do you think a lot of white people don't like black people for this reason or that reason? They're going to say yes. Do you think white people have a problem with black men dating or black women dating a white person? Yes. So why are we so surprised when it come out in public?
That's right. We already
Why are
know
we so mad when it comes out in public? I could care less about people prejudice. Okay? Your prejudice is fine. We should not be based off the history, based off the culture, the things that happen in this country. We should not be surprised when somebody comes out that they're prejudiced. The reason why we have a problem is when the people get exposed for having prejudices are in a position of power to where that person can affect me on an everyday basis.
Absolutely.
So I think we have to get away from that, just being emotional off of people doing things that we already know they're going to do, that we already expect for them to do.
Especially if it doesn't negatively impact, well, like you said, it doesn't oppress you.
Right.
Right? Doesn't make your situation worse. And they don't have the power to make your situation worse. Absolutely.
You can tell it all day. And even going back to the job scenario, you know, I've heard people say, yeah, I'm going to hire this person, but he need to cut his hair. Where in the policy does it say he need to cut his hair? Why is his hair a problem to you? Let's answer that first. It looks unprofessional. Who wrote the definition of professional hair?
That's right.
Right? Because if it's the military of them shaving their heads, there's a reason for that. We're not in the military. So what are we talking about? Right? It's because again, going back to what we talked about, that white man trying to keep that white culture, and somebody having braids now doesn't look right to you.
That's right.
Right? Somebody that has a beard doesn't look right to you.
That's right.
You know, a black woman with her hair braided and tied up in a bun doesn't look right to you. Right? So when you look at those aspects, you're basing your prejudice, and now you're moving into a racist fact, because now you can affect that person get hired based off something you don't understand, based off something that don't even matter.
Right.
You're worried about a perception of something that we don't have to please to. We don't have to formulate to white culture.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
When we talk, everybody always say America is the melting pot. But if something is Black American, if something is Latino, if something is Middle Eastern, if something that is outside of the white culture, you say it's a problem. But why? It's a melting pot.
That's right.
Right? If it's we the people,
that's right.
Like you said.
That's right. I was listening to a comedian the other day, and although it was intended to be funny, there is a lot of fact in it too about the same thing that Bake was just talking about, is that who determines something being professional or unprofessional,
right,
or being accepted and unaccepted, like especially when it comes to dress code and appearance. Who created the code? Mm-hmm. So, you know, as a white person, you could have a nickname that they can use in the professional sense. Like if your name is Charles, but they call you Chip, You can
Right.
put that on Chip Bowman on your business card, right? You can put that on your business
Or if your name
card.
is Charlie and they call you Charles.
Yeah,
it
you
can be
can put that on your
simple as
business
that.
card. But if my nickname is Juju, I can't put that on the business. It's not professional, right?
Right.
If my nickname is Junebug, I can't put that on my business card.
Your name
right?
is Ronnie and your name is
You know?
Ron. Like you really are.
Yeah,
You literally are just abbreviating your name.
Kenneth Buzz Johnson.
Yeah.
See, Buzz, he can put his name with Buzz Johnson. Y'all know Buzz. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it sounds funny, but it's a fact. So you created the rule of what's acceptable based on white people being able to do it, and it's okay. And it drives me crazy. And here's the funny thing is, when it comes to tattoos, a black person can have one tattoo on their neck, and it's not professional.
Right.
Yeah.
But the white person can have tattoos all up and down their neck, on the back of their neck.
And it's normally military
Yeah.
people who
And
put all of their military
That's-
stuff on.
Yep, you're hired.
Yes.
We're perfectly fine. And long
Yeah,
hair,
ask them
short
what it
hair.
means. Hey, what does that mean? Huh?
A white guy can have long hair and have it in a ponytail, but if a black guy has dreads or braids, oh, that's unacceptable. His hair's too long.
Yeah.
Right? And so they've created the rule of because they have the power. It's whoever's in the hiring and firing power seat is the one who determines what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. They'll say the customer base is. But if you look out in the world today, most of the people that are customers look like that person, right? So when you go to Walmart and you see people shopping down the aisles, most of those people that have tattoos, long hair, beards, or whatever, that's your customer base. But they don't want to deal with people that look like them. No, that's not true. We rather deal with people that look like us. That's why we're doing this podcast.
That's why most police departments went to that. You know, for a long time, police departments, anybody in law enforcement, you couldn't have a beard. You had to keep your hair short in length. A lot of places in the last 5 to 10 years have moved away from that because number one, you don't personalize with the people that you're serving, and number two, it was keeping a lot of people from not wanting to go work those jobs.
That's right.
If somebody comes in there and they're of this new generation, they're 22, 23 years old, and they're forming to the society of this is what's popular, and you tell them, hey, you got to cut your hair, you got to cut your beard, I don't want the job. So they found out that younger people weren't coming to work there is because you have all of these things in your policy that they're just not going to adhere to.
That's right.
I remember when me and Boo Boo Spinner started at Walmart together, and the HR woman told him he could not put Boo Boo on his name badge. And Boo Boo looked at her and said, but Charlie out there, his name is Charles, but he got Charlie on his badge. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. That's right. That is right.
But do we have any congratulations, anything like that?
Oh, yeah, we got one. Justin Hayden, a couple weeks ago, he opened Kurt and Soul in Roanoke, Virginia. It's on 312 2nd Street, Southwest Roanoke, Virginia. Jerk chicken, oxtails, you name it, he got it. Refresher drinks. I think they even do Showtime even do R&B karaoke on Wednesday nights. Justin Hayden also owns the Bridge Street Cafe in Bedford, here in Bedford. So salute to Justin. Just seeing him go from owning one business to now two. Sky's the limit for you. And I'm proud of him.
Shout out to you, cousin
Black owned
Justin.
business.
I got one last thing. I want to get your opinion on it. You know, it was a comedian. I forgot who said it, but he did a piece and he said, you know, working out with white people and working out with black people is totally different. He's like, you know, you working out with a white person, you know, you're trying to bench, and, you know, they're motivating you, like, get it up, you can do it, like, keep working, like, keep going. He's like, you working out with a black person, like, yeah, shit, you got that shit. I ain't even helping, you got that shit. Get that shit up. That's all you. You know, it's different mindset. And I want to get your take on, because they getting a lot of backlash on social media mostly from white people. Diamond Jim. You know, where they're you know, they're not actually doing the movements, some of the things, 4 reps and stuff like that. But, you know, they're pushing their mindset, you know, they're talking junk to each other. It's like a men's environment. I always say this Blue Ridge Fitness in Bedford is like that ultra men's environment. It's
Right.
not like
Right.
the YMCA.
Right.
So
That's right.
you going into a gym like that to where that's how y'all work out. Why is it so much backlash from workout influencers and all of this other stuff about what they do in that gym?
It's sort of like when you both of you guys coach kids, and when you have kids that come from a specific demographic, they respond differently to motivational, inspirational conversations, right? It's just things that you're used to. And when you want to motivate somebody, you have to find the method and then the materials to be able to motivate them. And if you grew up in the hood like I did, telling me, you got it, you can lift that weight, Jerome, come on. I'm going to be like, can you shut the fuck up? That's not going to do it for me. But if you like,
yo, you a bitch.
if you like, yo, man, that little bit of shit you got on there, man, that ain't nothing but a chicken wing, and we eat them all kinds of ways, nigga. You know, man, I'm motivated. You know, come on, man, I ain't going to even get behind you, right? You don't even need a spot, right? That motivates
Right.
me. Here's the thing. It's okay if people are motivated differently, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to ridicule somebody that is motivated by the soft talk. If that's what motivates you,
Yeah.
you just probably won't get it from me.
Yeah.
You know, but if that motivates you, that's cool. But it's also what motivated you when you first started working out. And when I first started working out, it wasn't in the ideal situations
Yeah.
and environments. And those folks, just the fact that they wanted to motivate you was like, okay, yeah, hell yeah, right? Because they can be like, man, you don't get that shit. I don't want to see you in here no more. Because they could have did that,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't be able to come no more. They was like, yo, I want to see you get it. You know, I want to see you get it. I'm gonna sit right here and watch you get it. I ain't gonna even touch it, and you gotta get it, right? It's motivate for me. So what motivates me may not motivate the next person,
Yeah.
right? And it's cool. But then you got to find the gym that you want to go to that's going to give you that kind of support,
Yeah.
but also that you can provide that kind of support. So at Blue Ridge Fitness, that's how we get it in.
Yeah.
You know? And if you don't want that, go to Y.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out to Diamond Gym. Like I said, if people can sit online and criticize the way they work out, you can't change. You can see how they look that is working,
Right.
and they going out and they doing something healthy for themselves. That's important.
That's right.
Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Peace.